Hello to you and welcome to today's Revisited. Today we're going to a country still recovering from 27 years of civil war. Angola is known for blood diamonds, for landmines and nowadays for oil. It gained its independence from Portugal in 1975, but within just a few months the three main groups in the country began to fight. World superpowers were drawn in as it became a Cold War battle. The Soviet Union and others supporting the then Marxist MPLA, while the US and Western countries like France backed UNITA and the FNLA. The war was fuelled by the trade in blood diamonds, jewels sold to finance the fighting. After 16 years came elections, but UNITA rejected the outcome and the fighting, well, it began again. 500,000 people died in the conflict. The end coming when the leader of UNITA, Jonas Savimbi, was killed in combat. The deal, announced by President José dos Santos, who first came to power in 1979 and is still there today.
If we progress fast enough this year, reach a ceasefire, and manage to demilitarize UNITA, then we can start planning elections in a year and a half to 2 years.
Well, since then, the country has seen a spectacular economic boom, led by oil. It produces well over 1.7 million barrels a day. The continent's second biggest oil producer, and a figure that continues to rise. The centre of the capital, Luanda, is said to be the most expensive place in the world to live in. But in the outskirts and surrounding countryside, half the population still lives in poverty. There remain about 10 million buried landmines, 120 people still killed by them every month. Well, France 24's correspondent Caroline Dumais has been to Luanda. She's shown around by the son of the former UNITA leader, Jonas Savimbi.
They call it the Dubai of Africa because it's the city that never sleeps. It is at night that Luanda truly comes to life. The Angolan capital is well known for its private parties that are filled with music, dancing and beautiful girls. This is where Luanda's new high society comes to mix. Tonight there is a surprise. RAFAEL Savimbi, the son of Jonas Savimbi, the late leader of UNITA, is out on the town. RAFAEL is following in his father's footsteps. He's part of UNITA's new guard, but he's also a man of his time.
It's true that my life is about something very different. But from time to time, when I have a weekend free, when I have some spare time, I come here to see this kind of thing. Why? Because it's also part of the culture, and I also think that it's good for the country because it helps to promote Angola's image abroad.
The changes in society are reflected in the fashion industry. This catwalk show features one of the best-selling local couture brands in Luanda. GERALDO Fashions has already been invited to show in Lagos, Johannesburg and even New York. The dresses are the work of two young sisters, DELFINA and BEATRIZ.
Well, we're just more expressing, having an expression in the summer. We use very bright colors and even the fabrics are very light fabrics which complement the tropical weather here in Luanda.
Yes, it's very, Angolan women like to dress up, like to look good all the time. They like to change.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's really good.
Very much. I like.
The days and nights are full of energy here. Everybody wants to reap the benefit of Angola's soaring economic growth fueled by oil exports. Luanda ranks as the most expensive city in the world. Property prices here beat all records. Take this flat on the 28th floor in the center of town. The asking price of this luxury penthouse of 1,200 square meters is 10 million euros. 80% of the block has already been sold. It has a spectacular view. And to spare the prospective owner the worry of traffic jams, the property boasts its own helicopter landing pad, not uncommon in Luanda. The flats have been sold to local millionaires who have blind faith in the future of their country.
All these investments are totally secure because we know that the peace will hold, that the Angolan economy is strong, that it's flourishing and in a state of perpetual growth. We believe Luanda will soon be the most important capital in Africa, or at least in southern Africa.
But the oil boom has not brought riches to everybody. On the far side of the bay, a former fisherman has a rather different story to tell. They razed his house with a bulldozer to build this sweeping promenade. The foundations are still there, buried beneath the highway. He was thrown out without any compensation.
They didn't give us a new house, so without financial aid or accommodation, it's very hard. Every time I pass by, I feel nostalgic. Often I try to pass by without even looking, because the beauty they have created here doesn't belong to us. We were given no compensation. It's a collective, a national heritage, to be sure, but we need a basic minimum to survive. Time is ticking and we don't see anything coming our way. At this rate, we could well die before we manage to obtain another house.
Fernando was forcibly removed from the peninsula of Ilha, where he was born. It was once populated by fishermen, and its story illustrates better than any other transformation of Luanda. He was moved to this shanty town without running water some 2 hours away by road. He lost his job and he lost his boats. He's been living here for 5 years with his wife and children. The years are going by with no change in sight.
There are people who come here from time to time and promise that things will change soon. Last month, members of the ruling party, the MPLA, came here. They visited all the areas where the former inhabitants of Ilha live. Afterwards, they drew up a report. I hope the resumption of parliamentary work means that we'll see some movement. Where there's life, there's hope. So we hope that one day we'll see conditions improve for ordinary people.
And where there's a will, there's a way. Away from the bright lights of the city, RAFAEL SAVIMBI is on the campaign trail. He's UNITA's National Secretary for Recruitment.
Tudo bem, mamãe? Tudo bem? Abraço. Tudo bem? Rafael, força aí.
UNITA is still the party that offers an alternative, because the Angolan people still believe that UNITA will be able to lead them to change.
But in Angola, it isn't easy to change the tune. This country has been ruled by the same men since it gained independence from Portugal. Eduardo dos Santos has been in power for 33 years and controls everything. He fought against Jonas Savimbi for 27 years before finally emerging triumphant from the civil war. He runs the country with an iron fist. His party controls the media, while his relatives and a few close allies have an ever tighter grip on the country's economy. Because Luanda is also a capital of inequality. It is a city where yachts and canoes sail the same waters. A city where highways tail off into gravel roads.
In Luanda, we have a real problem with roads. The traffic jams are really terrible. But in the same way, there are also big problems with garbage and with access to clean water. One has to see the other side to things.
We went to visit the offices of UNITA, where RAFAEL SAVIMBI was welcomed with one of the party's oldest songs. Kikolo, UNITA's stronghold in Luanda, has a long history. It is here that Jonas Savimbi voted for the first and the last time in 1992 before he went back to war. And even now, UNITA still faces problems. Protests are suppressed, activists are threatened. They showed RAFAEL pictures of two party officials who were killed last year.
It really upset a lot of people, and once again the leadership of UNITA had to calm them down because they were so angry about this. We live in a so-called democratic country, so people have to understand that when we accept democracy, we also have to accept the principle of diversity. We cannot all think the same way, we cannot all belong to the same party.
But after 27 years of civil war, it's not easy to nurture a spirit of tolerance in Angola. Luanda has opened a museum dedicated to the war in this 16th century Portuguese fort, as if to turn the page on a war it hopes has ended forever. Children are taught that the Cold War turned their country into a battlefield, that the Americans and South Africans were their sworn enemies, that Cuba saved them. That the war only came to an end when Jonas Savimbi was assassinated in 2002. But nothing is said about the exact circumstances in which RAFAEL's father was killed. Military officials described the museum as a step towards national reconciliation.
This is about the history of Angola, the whole history of the country since the beginning. We created it in consultation with all the parties. There is no split or partisan vision here. It represents everybody's point of view.
As a symbol of national unity, they've hoisted the biggest flag in Africa. A flagpole of 75 meters high towers over the bay of Luanda. But the children playing here seem indifferent. More than half of the population is under 30, and it has other things on its mind. For these young people who've never seen the war, there's little in Luanda to recall the past. But suburbs that suggest a very different future stretch out for tens of kilometers. These new towns were created for Angola's rapidly growing middle class. They were financed by oil dollars and built by the Chinese. It is in one of these new districts that we rejoin the GERALDO sisters, the two designers much in demand in Luanda. They moved in at the end of 2010 when they returned from exile. The daughters of diplomats, they are among those Angolans who were raised abroad and came back with the advent of peace. They have no regrets.
There's lots of people coming in with new ideas and new opportunities, so the best time is now.
Yeah, especially for the youth, for the young people, the best time to definitely start any business apart from fashion. Because apart from the fashion industry growing, there are many other industries growing, and you just want to go out and grab it. If the Angolans out there who are still afraid of coming home, I think the best time to come is now, because every door is open right now, and if you put your foot at it and if you work hard at it, you get it. And we had lots of our parents did not have the chance, our grandparents did not have a chance, and we are just at the beginning, and we are given this opportunity, and I think we should all run at it.
The war is over, and even the Portuguese are coming back to their former colony. There are now close to 200,000 expats, 10 times more than 10 years ago. This businessman grew up in Angola. Now he has invested his entire fortune in the renovation of this popular restaurant, and he's preparing to bring over his wife and children who are unemployed in their home country.
The future of the youth in Europe today? Look, I have two children, both educated. One is an economist and my daughter is a lawyer, but they have a hard time finding work and building a stable life, even though in Portugal they're in the country of their birth.
As Angola is now a growing destination for Portuguese exports, he has also launched an import-export business and sells goods like watches and jewelry. In Portugal, he says, luxury products no longer sell.
If you look at the economy of developing countries, they all have strong buying power. In fact, it's us in Europe who've lost that.
But in Luanda, not everybody has the same buying power. Half of the city's inhabitants live on less than $2 a day. And if Fernando isn't reimbursed for the house he has lost, his children won't be going to university. The opposition, which forms only a tiny minority in parliament, struggles to be heard. But RAFAEL SAVIMBI isn't giving up.
Before, people said all the problems in this country were one man's fault. Everybody blamed SAVIMBI. But 10 years after the war, people used to say after SAVIMBI, we will have peace, we will have water, electricity, we will have it all. But it's not like that.
Angolans fought hard to benefit from their natural riches. The guns have fallen silent. But the wealth has not been shared. In Luanda, many have their doubts about an urbanization program that benefits only those who won the war.
I don't think you should see peace simply as the absence of war. We also need to transform that peace into social peace. And for me, in order to create social peace, you need to ensure that everybody enjoys the same opportunities.
Of course, everyone wants Luanda to look like this district, which seems to glint and shine with the sparkle of a display window. But there's still a long road ahead for all Angolans to enjoy the same benefits.
The remarkable change to Luanda since the end of the Civil War. That's this week's Revisited here on France 24. Stay tuned, of course, for more editions coming up soon.